Welcome to the show, everybody. It is July the 16th. EOS Radio number 20. Wow. We made it to 20, man. How you doing?
20. Yeah, dude, I'm doing well. The double X is what we're up to now
Oh,
in
yeah?
Roman numerals. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been 5 months now, I guess, a little over 5 months. We've been doing EOS Radio every Monday, huh?
Right. Yeah.
We're pretty much marathon men at this point.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Good to see you, dude. We've had some big news this week, EOS wise.
Yep.
No,
I was going to say we're like the grandpas in the industry, huh?
dude, I'm feeling. I just got someone off my yard a few minutes ago. Get off my yard. Yeah, dude. It's been a big week for EOS. I mean, we just had a big announcement today with Block One. I mean, we're going to go over all that stuff. On a personal level, a lot of folks have heard that, I am with EOS Southwest Eden now.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. Of course, with these shows, we're going to try and keep it just as neutral as we can. I mean, obviously, I'm very pro for EOS Southwest Eden. The reason I joined them is they're one of the OGs, as we like to say, one of the original guys in EOS. And they've been around longer than we have, really. Eric was setting up the first test net back in January. We're big fans of them. I've always been a big personal fan of them, so I'm just thrilled to be with them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, otherwise, I mean, EOS has had some good stuff going on. What about the show tonight? What do we have happening, Bluejays?
Yeah, so like you said, we have a lot of great news, but we have starting coming up for the guests that we have LargeSeafaringMammal, which is a play on the word whale. So he's got a cool thing going there with T-shirts and everything. I can't wait to hear more about it. Then we got ONO coming on to talk about their upcoming launch, their imminent launch, what we have going on with their mainnet, what their plans are. I think a lot of people have questions regarding that. Then we'll go through a lot of the news, like you mentioned. Some good news nuggets today even, and for the last week. And then Thomas Cox will come on and help us talk about what's possibly coming up with governance or on-chain issues, especially with the big week leading out in Asia this week. They have a lot of meetups out there, so.
Yeah, I'm hoping to hear a lot more about what's going to happen at that meetup. I mean, he might have more information now at this point, and hopefully we can tune in some way. They've talked about possibly having videos put up after the fact. A live stream would be really cool as well, because they're like every block producer I know of is going, basically. And of course, Thomas. I know that John is also going to be over there as well. He's a very well-known member, Jim, as he's known in the chat, will be over there as well. So it's going to be sort of a powerhouse group of folks who are going to talk about EOS issues, I guess, like ECAF will be discussed, how to fund them, how they should pursue what they're doing, right, and how they should handle their upcoming cases as the caseload increases, and also with what they're doing now. Not to mention all the RAM stuff and all that good stuff. What's that?
I've heard of that they're meeting in Shanghai as well too, earlier.
Yeah, I think we'll hear either before or after Seoul, South Korea.
Okay.
They're having a big meetup in Shanghai, and then they're having one in Seoul. Yeah, we'll hear more from Thomas about what the timeline is for all that stuff. He's going there pretty soon.
Yeah.
So,
hi everybody in the chat. I see you guys there, especially Sagan on roids. I love that name. Carl Sagan used to be. I used to read him a lot when I was in high school. Yes, I was a science guy.
Bluejays, as nerdy as you are, we should also do a disco. I've seen requests for the disco.
Okay, let's do a disco for an awesome. When you want to do it now, or just kind of randomly throughout the show? Let's do it randomly throughout the show, so no one knows it's coming.
Should we do it 20 times for show number 20?
20 times?
20 disco. We don't want to scare everybody away, though, huh?
Man, I knew there was something about you. You like disco that much, huh?
I mean, I wasn't quite as into the science. I was more into the disco. Everybody else was learning. I was in the gym class just practicing my disco.
Okay.
That's the story I'm going to go with.
All right.
Yeah. Well, we have Large Seafaring Mammal coming on, aka Whale, and they'll be here shortly. We're just going to bring them in. Bluejays, what was your favorite piece of news that you saw this week?
There was so many. I mean, I think the Everpedia airdrop was awesome. Everyone was waiting for that. The stress test from Block Twitter. I don't think it was an intentional stress test, but we did definitely stress the capabilities of EOS, and it was humming along like a Lambo, man. So
Here's Bruce with Large
Hey,
Seafaring Mammal.
hey, Bluejay. Hey, Kevin. Can you hear me all right?
Hey,
Yeah,
Bruce.
sound good. Yeah,
Cool.
you got a
Great.
great
Great.
setup back there. I've seen a pinball machine. Got your shirt on. Looks awesome.
I scoured the office for the most exquisite place for video conference. This is the best I came up with.
It looks amazing back there. Are we looking at some old video games as well on the shelves?
A few, yeah. We got some books. The Addams Family pinball machine's pretty much a classic. So
Well done. Wow.
yeah,
You've run out
thank
of
you.
quarters already, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, no, we come on, man. We rigged it. It's
Oh,
infinite. It's infinite over here.
okay. No trips to the laundromat to get more quarters, huh? That's good.
Nope. Nope.
Well, Bruce, I mean, we'd love to hear more about what you guys are doing. Large Seafaring Mammal, it's an interesting project. You guys are kind of poking fun at yourselves as well. Can we learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing?
Yeah. So where do we start? Large Seafaring Mammal is it's starting out as an apparel company where we really want to bring in more like high quality streetwear quality clothing into the cryptocurrency industry. I feel like everything that you see now, like everybody kind of wants to represent what the movement is, and I see a lot of people moving into clothing to do that. The problem is most of the clothing is just made by just random people doing like direct to print stuff with really low quality shirts. And when we were buying this stuff, we were like, wow, I want to represent what this is. Uh, but I don't have a good way to do it that doesn't look like my dad made it or like a dad joke t-shirt. So that's really where the idea spawned from. And it's kind of turned into a lot more than that. We really wanted to have the community drive what we do. And we figured the best way to do that would be to tokenize voting, tokenize rewards in a way to keep the community involved in what we're doing and really shape where we're going. And when we were looking at platforms to do that, we had Ethereum, we had EOS, we had Waves, we had a bunch of different platforms. And then, well, you guys could tell me if I told you, I'm going to give you a token and I want you to send it to somewhere to vote. But every time you voted, you had to pay money to do it. Would you vote?
It would lessen my opportunity, lessen my desire to do that. Probably, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's what we thought too. So EOS was literally the only logical platform for us to do the thing that we wanted to do and have high user acceptance and involvement. So, and I was already an EOS holder for pretty much very early on in the ICO. So it was like a very logical step for me. I was like, well, I have these tokens. I might as well use them for something. And then from just an operational perspective, it was the only thing that would do the thing that we wanted to do. So we did that. We're implementing tokenized voting for designs, for community artists to get their projects voted in, and to even do things like a very mini, I guess you can say a minnow scale version of worker proposals. Like if you wanted to do something on brand that you think is really cool, you can use these tokens to propose that work for us to do or to collaborate with. And then by doing that, by doing all that, just by involving yourself in the community, we give you back another set of tokens that will be redeemable for exclusive merchandise or discounts off merchandise. So, I mean, we think it's pretty cool, and we're really excited about it.
Wow, this is probably the second project I've heard of, sort of bridging the physical goods world with the blockchain world. You know, we have EOS Cafe we talked to before, but this is a unique concept. Where'd you guys come up with the large seafaring mammal? We have no idea what that could possibly mean.
Well, we wanted to kick around ideas for what the brand would represent, and it was like, we didn't want to be too serious about it. Yeah. So we figured like poking fun at like being a whale in the space, being like a large player in the space. And we want to be a large player in a niche in the space. And then we were thinking of like, oh, we can't call it whale. Because number one, we'll never get a website with whale in it that's not already taken. And we'll never be able to trademark anything that has whale in it. So where can we go? And then I forgot which one of us came up with large seafaring mammal, but it was like the 15th synonym for whale. down, down the line. So that's pretty much where we stopped on. And the only thing that we've gotten that it's hilarious, it's a great name, and it is the longest URL or domain name that I have to add for an email that I've ever had to do. So that's pretty much the feedback that we've received on it.
That is so cool. I love the name.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
My favorite part of your website is when you scroll all the way down to the advisor. Normally there's an advisor section on all these websites where people just list all these big names. You guys put people who wear T-shirts instead of advisor, and you have Vitalik, Charlie Lee is in there, Charlie Shrem. So well done. Yeah, I think they do wear T-shirts.
It's not off base. It's not off base at all. And I don't even think they can call us out on it. I think that's fair use.
Yeah, you're speaking truth. Yeah,
I think that's almost fair use. I think Dan usually wears polos, so it was hard to include him on there.
Right.
But if somebody does find a T-shirt Dan photo, I'd be happy to put it on the website.
You've clearly done your research. Now that I think about it, I've never seen Dan in a T-shirt either.
I've been looking to add him, and it's been quite difficult. So if somebody can snap a candid photo of Dan within legal jurisdiction, please do so and send it.
How many T-shirts will you give them for free?
Well,
100 million.
Startups are hard, okay, and we have to turn a profit, so not many.
Okay,
but we'll give them something. We'll give them some proof of whale some LSM tokens.
Limited edition proof of whale shirts. Gotcha.
Proof of casualness.
Yeah. So, and by the way, those are our two tokens. The community token is called Proof of Whale, or PO Whale for short. Another play on like the proof of work consensus mechanism. And through that's your voting token. And then you'll get LSM reward tokens for participating in the community.
Excellent.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Hey, so I was talking to you earlier on, and you said your inspiration in one of your inspiration in life was the Ultimate Warrior. Where did that come from?
Well, so we were kicking around with design concepts. First of all, I was a big wrestling fan as a kid. So like early WWF is like gold.
Yeah.
Used to go to the video store and just like rent out old pay-per-views of like Andre the Giant getting scoop slammed by Hulk Hogan and stuff. So a big wrestling fan early on. And then the Ultimate Warrior was just iconic. So when we were kicking around like early concepts for what large seafaring mammal came to be, like one of them was like some sort of like Bitcoin. I think you could probably find it out there somewhere. Like it started out as the Ultimate Warrior, and then it turned into like an Ultimate Warrior with a Bitcoin as a head. There was a lot of different things that were large seafaring mammal before a large seafaring mammal. So it was just one of the many iterations that we needed to get to where we are today.
I actually saw WrestleMania where Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior faced off.
I think I saw that one.
In Toronto?
I used to get all the pay-per-views. So like anything with Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior, I was totally getting.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it live in Toronto.
Oh, you saw it live?
Yeah.
Did Hogan win?
No.
No? Ultimate Warrior won?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
This is a first here on EOS Radio, talking about wrestling. I love it. Did they ever release a Ultimate Warrior pinball machine?
We may have one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, I'm joking. We only have Addams Family. We have Addams Family and World Power Tour, which is boring. So I didn't include it in the shot.
Okay.
Made sure to just skew it over to the Addams Family one. But let me ask you guys, like, what would you guys like to see, or even the chat, like, what types of things would you want on an apparel brand? I don't have the chat open, so I'm not going to be able to see it, but maybe I'll see it on the recording.
You mean what kind of graphics we would like, or?
Yeah, like what kind of projects would you want to see us work with? Like
EOS.
Our end goal. Yeah, well, that's coming up, definitely. But like what EOS projects do you want to see us work with? Because like we have a vision of becoming the face of what this movement wants to represent. And we want to do that in a couple of ways. So like we have the poking fun and all that stuff, but really like we want to become like a variable marketplace where you guys will be able to decide what we're doing next. And that's going to be done through proof of whale, and that's going to be done on the blockchain, because it's hard to be transparent without being on the blockchain, especially when you're running a business. So that's why we're doing all the voting on there. So you'll get design voting, you're going to get community projects. You're going to see a highly available team on Reddit, in your Telegram chats. We're probably already there. So that's just the first part. Then the second part is we're going to be using a portion of our profits for like a mini EOS funds for community project startups. So if you have an idea that needs resources, and you're not getting it through the traditional VCs or the traditional ICOs or crowdfunding, like, we want to contribute. However big or small this becomes, we're going to be contributing. It's going to be that, and that is also going to be directed by the community as well. So we're going to be giving back to that. We're going to be doing some charity stuff in the future as well. I think that's all on our roadmap for Q3 to establish that, because it's hard to create a fund for EOS when you're a startup that is also just trying to turn a profit. So that is something in line for Q3. And then also just working with companies. Like, we want to be able to establish ourselves first, and then also help establish great projects in the space in the future. So, I mean, with that being said, like, any idea is fair game.
Yeah, I think we got some good suggestions in the chat. People were saying, make some smart EOS sayings. One of them was, I was the ABP.
I mean, in my mind, you need to sell Ram t-shirts, man.
Got Ram.
Yeah, Bruce got Ram. Where'd my Ram go?
Rambo. I mean, yeah. So
that was EOS Maximalist had that one too. I've been waiting to say that, but yeah.
EOS Maximalist, yeah. The Ram situation. I hope the time we get to a Ram t-shirt, it's no longer a conversation talking point, but we'll see what happens. The time we get down to that line, hopefully we have enough. Hopefully Ram's at a price where we can start airdropping instead of air grabbing. Because
that was my next question. Are you guys are airdropping? Are you in both tokens or just one?
What we're exploring, originally we had a couple of iterations. We had, you only get proof of whale when you purchase something. And we're like, that's not going to get the community involved as much as we wanted. So now we're doing like small social media bounties. And then I'm working on getting the air grab code ready so we can do an air grab versus an airdrop. Okay. Unfortunately we didn't get in the RAM market early enough to be able to, it's not financially feasible for us to do an airdrop at this point. So,
how does the air grab work?
I was talking to NS James a little bit earlier today.
Man, that guy's everywhere.
Yeah, dude, he's the man. And like, I try to talk to him as much as I can, because we want to do a lot of scatter integration on the voting page to make it easier for people. Right now we have like a minimum viable product. Like, there's a lot of copy and pasting. It's not very user friendly, but we want to make it live. So we want to do scatter integration. And then we also want to do the air grab. And the Riddle air grab, basically their open source code brings the RAM cost down to 0. So
nice,
very good.
And it puts the user pays a small amount of RAM to establish the token on the blockchain for their account, and brings the cost for the airdropper down to 0.
Oh, very good.
So it really spreads out the cost amongst everybody, and it's a lot more feasible for projects to do that versus doing an airdrop with these prices. I have somebody watching you.
Generos was the first one to do the Poor Man token. Is this built on the Poor Man token thing?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure. I tried to check out the code for Poor Man token before and do the demo airdrop, but I haven't received any Poor Man's tokens. So,
okay,
I don't know how that works yet. But the Riddle one I've been exploring a lot today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, been a lot happening. I mean, of course, Riddle just announced their airdrop too, I guess, with the air grab rather.
Yeah.
So it makes sense he reached out to them.
It's a lot of, it's really interesting stuff. And then I know we had a guy by the name of Leo who's doing development on Monster EOS. He was already working on a version of the air grab a while back. So it's really great that this stuff is iterating so quickly.
Cool. Very good.
By putting transfer stuff in there. So yeah.
So what's next for you guys? Like once you do your air grab?
We're working with a couple of projects already on collaborations to get our name out there and their name out there, and really just trying to unify EOS and EOS projects. Because really, at the end of the day, the community is what's going to build this, and that's the way that Dan designed it, is to throw it out there and let the community really build on it. So we partnered to do some cool stuff with Monster EOS. We're going to be doing a limited run of shirts for them, as well as Wallace the Whale may be a playable character in the game. So that's going to be pretty cool. And they're doing a lot of great things, and their development is moving really fast. And then Karma, I've been working with Dallas Rushing on doing a piece for them and for their community. So we're going to have stuff in collaboration with EOS projects, and then we're also going to be putting out our second run of shirts pretty shortly too. So that's why I want to get all those good ideas from the community before we start designing, and hopefully some proof of whale votes on the website, so you guys can tell us what you guys want.
Awesome. Sounds great. Yeah, I love it. It's one of the more fun interviews I think we've done here. This is good. I like your guys' stance. I like the white paper, the opening to the white paper. For the people who need a white paper about T-shirts, there you go, folks. So.
Exactly. Oh, and guys, for anybody in the chat or you guys, we're doing 10% off for everybody in the chat if you guys just use the discount code EOS Go.
Oh, nice. Cool.
You guys will get 10% off any of your purchases. And if you guys go ahead and sign up or retweet us or whatever, just get us over your account name, and we'll drop you guys some proof of whale.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks, man. And where should folks keep up with you otherwise? I mean, in terms of you guys have a lot going on, and when the actual drops the grabs start happening, where should people keep in touch with you guys?
On Twitter, you can find us at LargeSeaMammal, because LargeSeafaringMammal is too long. And at LargeSeafaringMammal for Instagram and Facebook. You can keep up with us. And our blog on our website is starting to gain steam, so you'll see, no pun intended, it's not on Steam. But you'll be able to keep up with us there too. We'll have a bunch of announcements.
Very cool. Well, awesome. Great to meet you, Bruce. Yeah, thank you for coming on, and I'm enjoying your project. Thank you for doing this for EOS, for the whole community. Really, it's going to be awesome seeing you. Kind of a lighthearted take on everything, and but you guys are also seem pretty serious in a lot of ways and what you're looking to accomplish. So it's a good combination.
Yeah, definitely, guys. I appreciate having me on, and just call us back anytime. We'll get some other members of LSM to come on and hang out with you guys.
Cool.
Sounds great. You should have a guy playing pinball in the background the whole entire interview. That would be awesome.
You know what? We can't afford it yet. We can't afford
okay.
We can't afford stand-ins and extras at this point. But
I got you.
Maybe soon. Maybe next interview I'll have a whole entourage.
Yeah, just go down the street, get a homeless guy maybe can come on. And...
You know what? It probably wouldn't be too difficult to find. So okay.
Thanks, Bruce.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye guys.
Later. That
was cool.
A white paper for T-shirts. That's awesome.
I know, right? I never thought I'd see that, but it's pretty funny. And then, 10% off, guys, if you want to grab some T-shirts.
Yeah, EOS Go. That's a discount code for you guys.
Yeah, there you
go. Can you just imagine all the sayings that could be on EOS T-shirts, man? That'd be funny.
Oh man, yeah. Well, what's your thought so far? I'm having a hard time coming up with too many right now.
Well, we weren't block producers, so we wouldn't have I was the ABP one, but maybe we could. I don't know.
Well, now I'm with a block producer now, so
Oh, that's right.
I am personally the ABP.
You are the ABP.
We got to start. We got to keep thinking about this, Blue Jays. You know, throughout the show, as that mind keeps turning, I know that mind is always turning for you. So you let me know if you come up with one. Let's do. We forgot the disco with Bruce too. I meant to ask you.
Oh yeah, okay, let's do it.
He seems the kind of guy who would disco.
All right, get ready, Kev.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think later on we'll have some Ram talk too, so we can get Rambo fired up again. Maybe that'd be awesome.
Ram? Did you say Ram? Oh wait, I don't have it on here. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna have ONO coming on, Blue Jays. ONO is having their United States, or their international launch, I should say. So far, their social network application has been in China only, and it's been up for about 2 months now. They'll tell us more, but so yeah, they're going to come on and celebrate their international launch with us, Blue Jays.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Have you tried ONO? What's your social media presence looking like these days?
No, I have not tried ONO. I think I'm looking forward to it. I just have a lot of questions behind for the ONO people. I mean, I've heard that it's launching, but it's launching on a test net, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about their possible separate launch of a new chain, right? The ONO blockchain.
Yeah, so they are going to be on their own mainnet. But I've heard that their production mainnet isn't going to be ready. So this is really a test net.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I've got a lot of questions.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they say. And here comes Stella Bell, I believe, is popping in right now. Are you on Facebook, Blue Jays?
Yeah, I hardly ever use it anymore, though.
Okay, yeah. I think all the really brilliant people are moving away from Facebook, in my mind. Yeah. Hey, Stella Bell, how you doing?
Hi, Stella.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing
good.
Well.
Welcome back. And we have Sam coming on as well, right?
Hold on, let me just do something.
There he is. Here's Sam. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Sam.
Welcome. And maybe you can't quite hear us yet. Yeah. So I think so. We have Leah and Sam. They are both super partners for ONO.
No.
You're not?
No, I'm the head of international operations.
Oh, wow.
I work for ONO, and Samuel is a super partner.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
You're a former super partner, right, Leah?
No, I was never a super partner.
Oh, you never? Okay. You never passed the 500 question test.
No, I was actually organizing and building the communities of the super partners.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, Blue Jays was just talking about all those questions that he has about the international launch, and I guess we have a lot to learn here. So take it away, I guess. What do you guys know?
Stella, just you guys go ahead and give us an update about what's coming up, and then if we have specific questions, we'll talk about it after.
Well, we should also say before we jump in, we should do a brief description of what ONO is, too, what you guys are looking to accomplish for the folks who are not familiar as well.
Sam, you want to take it away this time? I've been on the show, I think, several times, so let's have a new voice, right?
Yeah. So I think what ONO is trying to achieve, it's a decentralized social networking app, DApp, or however you pronounce it, you know. And the idea, I think, is that, I mean, it's not, some of it is an idea that we're pretty familiar with, where you have a social network where content and interaction and behaviors are incentivized with cryptocurrency, with a token. This is maybe different to other things that have happened before, because the governance is a different structure within the network. And the way that the reward systems work is probably different to anything that's really happened so far. And if I could brag a little bit, I think it's maybe a tiny bit slicker than anything that we've seen in this space at this point.
Cool. Yeah, it's and it's more about, it's a democratic social network, right? I mean, it's nobody actually owns it. The super partners are elected. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So at the moment, the first generation of super partners, as we're sometimes described, were, I guess, kind of handpicked by the founders, by Keishu. But in October, we face the music. The ONO membership will vote on us, and it's one account, or rather one verified account, one vote. So we can't be elected by whoever has the most currency staked in the system. It's just, you know, we face the people, and if they don't like what we've been doing, they don't think we've been doing a good job, then they'll replace us with someone else. And it's a big deal because some of the, you know, super partners have a kind of a range of responsibilities. Like we decide, we're the final word on what gets hidden or, you know, sort of folded in the network. So it's, you know, all the content is going to be on the blockchain that people put up. But if something is, you know, abusive or illegal or obscene or, you know, whatever, you know, we're the group who decides, you know, that gets hidden. You know, but we have kind of input into some of the kind of ways that the reward pool and the funding is kind of cut up over time on what projects things can go to. So it's quite a important position. But yeah, if people don't like what we've been doing, then, you know, they'll find someone else to do it for them.
That brings up, can I just interject on a point there? The super partners actually are comprised, they make up what's called the ONO DAC, which is a decentralized autonomous corporation, or community is a better, that's a more accurate word. And so the super partners are autonomous, and they are separate from the founding team, which would be myself and the rest of the founding team. So they have their own structure. They get to vote and decide things, even like their salary and things like that. They can, isn't that correct? You guys have already done some voting in regards to how things are distributed.
Yeah, look, I think that's right. We can decide a lot of those things. And what's interesting, and I meant to post this, you know, when I've been so too busy to put another Steemit post up lately, but I wanted to really stress that once everything goes live, you know, we don't work for the founders or Ono or Kay or Leah. We work for the, you know, the membership is, you know, they're our bosses, and so it's an interesting thing. There is a kind of an interest. It's not really tension, but there is an interesting kind of dynamic there where, you know, we sort of intervene, you know, we're sort of sitting in between these two groups, you know, the users on one hand and Ono sort of corporation, you know, on the other, and we're our own kind of organisation that sits in the middle and kind of potentially moderates and sort of mediates that interaction between the two groups.
Interesting. So it's almost like two levels of, well, I don't think the founders have any governing responsibilities. It's just the super partners, right?
Pretty much,
Ono is playing a supportive role. So, like, part of my job is to figure out, okay, when the super partners get stuck or there's a problem that, like, no one can resolve, which I haven't really seen much of that. It's just I'm trying to give a tiny bit of, like, structure when there needs to be a tiny bit, and then people could just tell me to just leave them alone too, because I'm not their overlord. I'm playing a supportive role in trying to assist when it's necessary, or like when someone asks me for help. But I like to try to at least back off more and more. In the beginning, I was, you know, instrumental in choosing the people, but it was merit based. I didn't even know a ton of the super partners. I didn't know who they were. It's just basically whoever rose up and started, like, taking the lead and doing the work, those people started standing out, and everything is merit based. In other words, if a super partner just stops doing the job or just becomes so inactive, then the other super partners can do a vote. Everyone, like, no one is really safe, and just because the founding team chose them in the beginning, it doesn't mean anything. That's, I think, a lot of the thing in our minds. We think that, oh, they were chosen, therefore they're all safe. That's not it at all. If someone starts behaving badly or just starts doing I don't know, you know, just bad stuff or whatever, the super partners have their own autonomy. They can decide what is good for the health of it. And then ultimately the people will pick the super partners that they want later, as long as they have a verified account that they're choosing. So really the founding team was only there just to get the whole thing started. But then we're slowly just kind of backing away and providing support when they need it, just in a way to be of service to the super partners who are of service to the people.
How often do they get voted? This sounds exactly like the block producer setup in EOS itself.
Sam, you want to answer that one?
Well, look, I mean, there's a couple of ways to answer this. In terms of when we're voted, we would face an election from the verified ONO members once every 12 months at a minimum.
Okay.
So October, I believe, is the schedule for that. There are, if we can kind of have referendums called against us. I guess, it's a long kind of explanation, but essentially we can be impeached at pretty much any time if we annoy people enough. So, by the membership, so there is that. So it's not like, you're stuck with us for a year, no matter how, bad we are. And the other thing with it is that, and I guess this is the other important point with the other important difference. I mean, it is like block producers, but again, it's not stake-weighted voting, right? You got one ONO in your account, you get one vote. You've got 1 million ONO in your account, you get one vote. In terms of who the super partners are. So, this isn't, we actually, we don't just have to impress the whales,
right.
If there are any, we have to impress everyone. And that's the complicated part of this job, I think, is going to be, it's not just doing the right thing. You got to do the right thing and have people, go, yes, we understand that you did the right thing and we agree with you. That's the hard part. Well, it's all hard, but that's going to be the difficult bit, because you can do the right thing and really annoy people. So you've got to balance. You have to be able to sell it. That why you're doing what you're doing, and that it is good for people and it is good for the network.
Right.
I want to hear more about this international launch and also the separate blockchain from EOS software. A lot of folks are asking questions about that. What can you guys tell us about that stuff?
So yeah, ONO is going to be launching its own mainnet using EOS.io software, and the testnet for that will be going out. We've heard at the end of this month, although I don't like to give deadlines when you're building something like a testnet. So it's maybe a week or two out. That's the estimate I've heard. Now the actual the mainnet itself, when it's actually past the testnet, when it's actually there, I've heard next year when it's actually a real functioning mainnet.
Okay.
So what exactly is going live then tomorrow or today?
Well, the apps, which are dApps technically, Android and iOS. So that's what the developers have been working. I think they stayed up for 2 days. I've kind of lost track of how many days they've stayed up and nights. It should be ready to be downloaded after 12 hours. They had a small technical stuff they had to work out. The deadline was the 15th, but we had a kind of a window of the 15th through the 17th. So we have tested it. Both Sam and I have test versions, but the official launch of the dApps, the mobile, it's just mobile, by the way. It's not desktop right now. They're doing the mobile dApps first. And then the desktop will come later. But that should be in the next half a day that it is available for download.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so apps will be there. It just won't be connected to a production mainnet. It will be connected to a testnet.
So on this question, according to the white paper, they're using, I don't know the exact answer for you. I'm just going to say that, okay? Because they have the solutions they have before it's on the blockchain are using different solutions, but I don't want to give wrong answers. So yeah, they've been, in fact, they've had this launch since April. So they're using that I need to, get that clarified exactly what we're using. I think I asked that in a question. I'll have to look at the own AMA, but it's not on the ONO mainnet yet.
Okay.
It will be coming.
Because the tokens are there are tokens flowing through the ecosystem right now, right? They're already going around.
Yeah.
Being rewarded to people. Okay, cool.
But they're locked. From what how I understand it, it's locked. So
can't be sold or anything. Okay.
Yeah, it's because it's not on the exchanges. That's coming in August. So it's really like, they haven't been able to trade or anything. So they wanted to have a social network of people before the all that stuff is developed. So it's being developed. It's not what I think people are used to. They're used to having all that stuff before the people are there, but they wanted to have the people there first and then build the real value around the social engagement and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weirdly kind of planned approach. Like, it's not just like set everything up and let it go. And I think that's what's interesting with this is that there's, they want to there seems to be a real effort to try and get the community in the shape that they want it to. Early on. I think there's a lot of effort. I don't know that the Chinese super partners who've been sort of working the test version already have been putting in a lot of work, just trying to set the community standards that they kind of want to see in terms of interaction. And I think that's something that's sort of reflected throughout the approach.
Without the tokenomics.
I think.
So the community is going to be set up without the tokenomics, and then after.
Well, what's funny is that even though you can't spend the tokens are just sitting in your ONO account at the moment for the Chinese test users, but they act as if they can sell them. They're still they can't do anything with them yet, but they are they still act as if that they can spend them, and they know they're going to be able to spend them at some stage. So I think that the tokenomics, they're there in people's mind, even if it's not fully realized by being able to cash it out on an exchange.
We have people asking about, airdrop, of course, or is the whole EOS Genesis snapshot, are they going to receive an airdrop with ONO tokens? How's that going to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many times have we answered this question, Leah?
I'm sure every single day.
Yeah.
Every day is asked when. So I've been told that it's after the ONO mainnet testnet is launched. I don't have a date again. I really wish I did have a date, but she said after the ONO testnet is launched. The one-to-one Genesis snapshot being used for the EOS airdrop.
Yeah, it's always hard to project these dates ahead of time, especially with a huge project like this. But
especially because they're building several aspects of it all at once. It makes it really there's never a dull day, right? Because there's a lot going on. It's not going to be just a dApp. It's turning into like an entire ecosystem. That's what I think was different about how it was in the beginning and how it is now. So
yeah, decentralized social network is kind of the holy grail, I would say, for dApps, for all the blockchain projects coming out there. So it looks like ONO is taking good strides so far.
I did want to mention one thing as far as some of the functionalities on the app itself is that in order to dislike someone's content, it costs you 1 ONOT. So let's say an example, like someone has like 500 bots, like an entire botnet, and they want to downvote one person that they've chosen to be their enemy. Well, that's not going to be a lot of incentive. They'll have to spend like 500 ONOTs per day to just, dislike their stuff. The other thing is your content is evergreen. That means that, let's say I write this amazing thing that took me like 10 hours and I put my whole life into it, right? Let's say in 2 months, someone from the outside, they find my article, they like it, they can make my article hot again. And it can earn tokens again based on that organic, someone creating my article again, making it hot in the hot category.
Wow. Interesting.
So even years down the line, if you posted a cute picture of your cat and then the cat goes viral again 5 years later, you still get more ONOTs for it.
Yeah, based on, the organic activity. And hopefully by that time, we'll figure out really advanced tools to figure out like, okay, that's a botnet liking. That's going to be a big challenge, I believe. I'm not going to lie. I mean, bots are a huge challenge. I think we have to use advanced artificial intelligence to, like, you know, identify this bot activity, and I think that's going to be one of the things. Do you have any thoughts on that, Sam?
Look, I think so. I mean, I've spent a lot of time watching the super partners who are already in place on the Chinese test version doing their job, watching their discussions in WeChat, and they seem pretty good at spotting this stuff so far. Maybe because the people who've tried to run bots or run sort of spam rings so far, I mean, they're not putting a lot of effort in. It's really obvious. So I think it's going to require, a lot of hard work and vigilance, and you know, maybe we will have to sort of divert some funds into getting the right tools set up to help us do this. The main thing I think is if we can get, you know, the membership, you know, who aren't bots, the real, you know, people, at least into the habit of at least reporting stuff that's obviously spam and bots, so that we know to look at it. I think that's, you know, kind of one of the norms that we want to set early on, that'll really help. You know, is to sort of encourage membership to help us, because that helps themselves. You know, the more bots they help us clean up, the better everything is for them and the network in general.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's been a problem for years and years. The bot problem will never fully go away, probably. But hey, I mean, in a lot of ways, ONO will be solving a lot of other problems that are currently present. It's Facebook, and you know, everybody gets to own the value that's produced from the social network.
Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
And everyone retains control over their data. I mean, ONO doesn't collect really much, if anything, in the way of private data anyway. And so it's completely different. I mean, that's you know, the thing. We're never going to have you know, some sort of bizarre Cambridge Analytica scandal with ONO. You know, not if I have anything to do with it anyway. So, but also because of how it's, I don't think it's possible for us to, because you retain control over your own data. I don't think ONO could do that if it wanted to. Yeah, it does hopefully solve a lot of problems that we've been stuck with so far.
Guys, are we gonna see the campaigning for block producers of the ONO mainnet, just like we've seen in EOS mainnet? Is that what's gonna take place from now until next year when it runs, the ONO mainnet is launched?
I think that's just what will naturally happen. Kay did answer that question. It's not a private chain or anything. So she confirmed that it is open to anyone that follows the rules of consensus. You know, the consensus mechanism they decide. Yes. So I'm sure this will happen. It just is a natural result of there's an opportunity, right? We don't have the specifics now. There will be a website coming out. They're building a website to go into all those details. It'll be all clear how that works. But yeah, I don't have any specifics on it.
Well, it's good to know that Kay did say that it's not going to be a private chain. I think that was a concern for a lot of people. So
yeah.
No. If you knew Kay, you would know that it's not. I mean, she's for you know, Lao Tzu is a big influencer on the white paper, and anyone that is familiar with Lao Tzu would know that it's ONO is playing a supportive role to allow kind of organic growth, and freedom of people is at the base of it.
Good.
The basis of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you guys for coming on. Where should people keep up with ONO in terms of when you guys launch the international release? Where should they know about it first thing? Jump on it.
Probably the best place to find us is in the ONO English Telegram channel, which I'm trying to remember the username. Leah.
That's
ONO US. I think we got it.
Yeah,
ONO US.
ONO US.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
English
the best
channel.
place. And if anything official is going to happen, that's where we're going to be announcing it.
Very nice, guys. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Oh no, it sounds like it'll be a big deal. It already is a big deal in a lot of ways. So this is pretty exciting hearing from you guys. Thank you for updating us.
Cool.
Last
Thanks for having
count
us.
on users is 356,000.
Wow.
Whoa, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
Hopefully they're mostly people, right? Like I
Fingers
don't
crossed,
I'm
yeah.
not a fan of putting the numbers out there just because, like, but let's hope that they're mostly people, right?
still, it's amazing. It's a lot more than the EOS Go forums, that's for sure. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys, for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, see you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, Bluejays, yeah, ONO. So have you, are you going to download ONO and make a Bluejays profile?
Sure, why not? Why not?
It sounds like
I'll
you're
be
almost
356,000 or whatever it is.
357,000. Bluejays counts for 1,000 people all by his own, on his own. Yeah, so it's kind of like if you're accruing those ONO tokens right now, you're kind of ahead of the curve, I guess, right? I mean, you can't even trade them yet. You just start accruing them and have them sitting there, and then when they finally are tradable, you go, wow, each ONO is worth $1,000. Wow. I have no idea what they'll be worth. Maybe 20 cents. Who knows, right?
Yeah. Don't take financial advice from Kevin, guys.
Never. Don't do it, guys. Yeah. Let's do a couple pieces of news, Bluejays, and then Thomas will be on here in about 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. What do you got first?
All right, well, let's just start off with the big one. You ready?
Yeah.
Block 1 closes strategic investment round led by Peter Thiel and Bitmain. So
Right.
Peter Thiel is a name that a lot of folks know if they're into technology in any respect or any fashion. Of course, he founded PayPal and sold that off for, I think, 4 years later for many billions of dollars. And ever since, he's been a huge VC in technology, and he's been very successful in that respect.
Right.
And so he actually led this round along with Jihan Wu, who is the either founder or co-founder of Bitmain. And they of course, they produce those ASICs that help mine Bitcoins. And they also have a humongous ant pool, BTC.com. They have a large group of stuff. So it sounds like even Bitmain is sort of progressing towards the next generation of blockchain. And they have a couple good quotes talking about that too, about how much they believe in EOS. Have you read all the news? Have you looked into it, Bluejays?
Yeah, I looked into it. I mean, no terms were released or anything like that, but it definitely, just to be associated with those two key players in the IT world, Peter Thiel is known for his contrarian ways, going against the grain, but also knowing exactly where to invest his time and money. So it's very bullish in my eyes for Block 1.
Yeah, and a couple things I was surprised about. Of course, Block 1, as far as I can tell, they have a fair amount of money already.
Yeah.
I was wondering why they raised more money, what they might have in store. Of course, I have no idea what their financials look like, but to me, it sounds interesting. Do you have any experience with VC funding and the background in that, Bluejays, in terms of why they'd want to raise more money? What might they be doing?
I think it's for connections. It's for how to get things pushed through. Projects. He brings a lot of credibility. We don't know what the terms were, definitely, but if it's a deal with EOS VC, then it could be to provide more capital for them.
Sure.
I don't know if it's a part in the company itself or some EOS or whatever. The terms were not released, but just to be associated with him, with his connections, with his reputation in the industry, especially in Silicon Valley. I know he was moving away from Silicon Valley. He's one of the proponents of, getting out of the valley and going elsewhere. So he definitely thinks not the norm, and he thinks outside the box. And I think he's perfect partner for Block 1 in my mind.
I agree. And in fact, someone on Reddit today actually posted a video of Peter Thiel talking about how he does not like Keynesian economics. He's more of a fan of the Austrian economics. Of course, Dan is a huge fan, von Mises and everything. So Keynesian economics, sort of more about the trickle-down effect that the current economy is based on the United States, in terms of just release all the money to the more wealthy folks and it'll trickle down to down the line to everybody else. Whereas Austrian economics is about empowering the individual so they can own their property and provide liberty through ownership of property kind of thing. So
I did not
Peter
know
Thiel,
that.
it sounds like, it sounds like his kind of, he's aligned in terms of his interests and his beliefs, especially when it comes to economics. I'm sure he has a thing or two about it too.
Did you ever see that that sitcom or show on Silicon Valley? I mean, on HBO called Silicon Valley.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, it's a really cool show, and it was said that he was the one of the main characters, the billionaire in that show, was based on Peter Thiel. So it's if you ever get a chance, check out that show.
Okay, I've heard they have a lot of cryptocurrency stuff on that show. I've only read about it, but
yeah,
like
there's been a lot of similarities between EOS and that show I've seen around.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, and the other thing too with this news release, Bloomberg picked it up and circulated it as well. So this is mainstream coverage here for Block One.
Yep.
It's pretty exciting stuff. I guess we'll see what comes out of it. I should say that Bitmain has actually been a block producer candidate for a while, and I believe they were in top 21 for a little bit too. They have since dropped significantly down the list. I don't know why. However, they have been invested in EOS for longer than before this, just in terms of trying to help the actual mainnet blockchain, not just Block One. So what's the next piece of news you see there, Bluejays?
Citibank Human Resources Managing Director James Mendez to join Block One as Chief People Officer. So it looks like it's a HR role that he's there. He was doing HR in Citibank. So there you go. The trend continues with Block One hiring bankers. Very good.
Wow. Bringing in the chiefs, huh? Chief People Officer.
Yeah.
Never heard of that term before. That's new. But, you got to... probably the guy who orders the pizza, right, for the office. He delivers it in there. It's like, hey guys, just to perk up your day a little bit, here's some pizza.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting stuff. I mean, when it comes to bankers, we saw that other guy. He's the head of the venture capital arm for Block One, and he came over from Mayada Jeffries, which is a group in Asia, I believe, a large banking group.
Yeah, it was Asia or Australia, one of those ones.
Well, the one before was Australia. That was the... Who was it? COO?
The COO.
One of the other
That's right.
Yeah. And so he came over a couple months ago. Yeah, we are seeing a lot of sort of big money type folks, very talented, hardworking folks who've had successful careers coming over to Block One. I guess they see the opportunity. So we might have Thomas coming in here very shortly, but you have another piece of news for us, Bluejay. We have a lot of news that happened this week.
Yeah, so we can go through it pretty quick. We talked about the Everpedia airdrop, so everybody enjoying their IQ. Everybody's IQ went up a lot this week, right? So depending on you might be a genius right now. So Kevin, I might be a super genius. Kay might be a super genius, a super partner, and a super genius. Look at that.
So many super people around here. It's unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, EOS, I never knew so many super people before EOS. So yeah, the IQ token, man, it's already almost worth $1 billion, right? The market cap, last I saw it was like 9 cents per IQ token. It started off at 2 cents, it went up to 7, went back down, and of course now it's back up again. Typical situation for an airdrop type token. It's just extreme volatility. So, it's another project with just an outrageous sort of market cap out of the gate. I mean, if it's let's just say it's at $1 billion for market cap. Where does that put it here? Let's see. It's about number 21 on the list, just below EOS Go, I should say.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If they are indeed still at 9 cents or close to 10 cents.
Very good.
Them at so, yeah. And I hope my numbers are correct there. But anyway, so I guess folks can start curating content on Everpedia now and earning the IQ tokens as well. You can start using Scatter on their site. I believe it is sort of a beta version or an MVP maybe even. But as far as I've heard... Brian, have you tested it out already, Bluejays? Have you written up an Everpedia article about yourself?
No, but I can't wait to. Yeah, it's going to be...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. Speaking of air grab, so Riddle has done an air grab, and we talked about that earlier. If you guys want to check it out at https://riddle.get-scatter.com. Go NS James.
Yeah, last I heard, he's putting out a game, a desktop, a proof of concept game. So it's going to be a first-person shooter. I think we talked about this last week, maybe, or maybe not. It might even be new news since last week because that guy has just been working 24/7, apparently. So he put out the Scatter desktop version, and that was designed, or is a great one of the great use cases for that Scatter desktop application is for games. Therefore, you can just be in the game collecting your tokens, whatever the tokens might be, and then they'll be recorded automatically with your Scatter identity. which is really cool. So you don't have to pop in and out or pay transaction fees or whatever else, just shoot people. That's all you have to do. Think about shooting and getting to the top of the leaderboard and not dying. And that's kind of his model for that game is if you kill people, you earn tokens.
Yeah.
If you die, you lose tokens. So you don't want to die.
There you go.
Better fire up your keyboard skills there, Blue Jays. How's your shooting game? Are you?
Yeah, I should have a gaming keyboard, so I should probably try that game.
I've heard that gaming keyboard. It's quite loud.
It's
yeah,
like clink, 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 clink. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, dude.
We got some other cool news on here. So Block Twitter blew up EOS, man. It didn't literally blow up EOS, but it gave it a good stress test. I think I tweeted out a chart there that shows how much actions Block Twitter was actually doing, and it eclipsed everything else by a huge margin. So, yeah. And EOS did top 1.2 thousand transactions per second, which just crushes anything else in the blockchain industry. So,
yeah, Ethereum's at 15 transactions per second, Bitcoin's at 4. And we have 1,200 transactions per second with EOS. That's pretty great. Blocktivity, of course, that was more of a stress test, I believe, is what some people were saying. And so EOS jumped up to number 3, I believe, on Blocktivity for a little bit there, above Ethereum. And so you had BitShares, number 1, Steem, number 2, and EOS, number 3. Congratulations, Dan Larimer, on those achievements there. But so now it's back down to number 4 behind Ethereum because I believe the stress test must be over. Nonetheless, man, it's just great to see. I mean, what other questions can we have about the speed of EOS at this point, right? It's up, it's running.
We just need to see it in action, and I think people need to see that. So we're looking forward to those apps like Everpedia and ONO to show, what it's capable of.
Have you used Block Twitter at all?
No, they don't even have the website registered. You can go register blocktwitter.com if you wanted to, I think. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that, so.
I think they had there's Decent Twitter that came out a little bit ago. That was Caesar.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Different. Okay.
Yeah.
That was more like another proof of concept type thing. He just whipped that up really quick.
Yeah.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago too on the show.
Right.
We should also talk about Dan's 3-step plan that he put out for lowering the EOS account creation costs. Yeah. And guess what, Blue Jays? This is a talk about RAM.
RAM. Yep. I don't have the button anymore.
Oh man.
But yeah, so he talked about how you can lower the account costs by each account not needing as much. I think it's 4 kilobytes now, but he said he can lower it all the way down to 512 bytes. So that significantly lowers the cost by almost 8 times or something like that. So he's got, and he lays out all the other plans that he has in order to lower the RAM costs. So, and as we see with the air grab thing, and for example, actually RAM prices have been coming down to a more reasonable level. So things are all working itself out.
Yeah, and so his 3-step, I mean, he's talking about increasing RAM supply is number 1 for him, and he's actually been sort of pushing this as well in Telegram to the block producers. Because, here's the plan. I believe right now he wants to add 64 gigabytes per year, but he wants to do it per block, which is about 1 kilobyte added per block every half second.
That's right.
So it'll be a gradual increase, kind of a linear increase, right? Whether or not that will actually impact the RAM price too much, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's still a steady increase for the speculators that they know about, right? Yeah. So they understand that it's still a fixed supply, right? It's still a scarce resource, depending on how quickly EOS goes to the moon, as they say, right? Depending on how many DApp developers come along and try to build the next CryptoKitties on EOS. Yeah. So we'll see. And the next thing he said, step 2 is lower account memory usage. That's what you just talked about. So he's going to do it down to 512 bytes.
Right.
So yeah, that's. I guess they went back and just sort of researched, and this is interesting too because they've talked about how having a RAM market will actually sort of encourage DApp developers to come in and use RAM as scarcely as possible, right? They'll be as efficient as they possibly can when it comes to RAM use. And so Block One themselves actually went in, and it looks like they reviewed their use of RAM themselves, right, and how it had been utilized for DApps. So the final thing we should talk about too. This is exciting for some folks. Step 3 for Dan: free accounts with the Block One iOS wallet, and that is yet to be released. Of course, Dan has hinted about this a little bit in Telegram about how secure it will be and how it'll be better than KYC using biometrics. He's even said secure enclave, which would be the Touch ID. You use your fingerprint to log into your hardware wallet on your phone or your
Very cool.
iPod or your MacBook or whatever the case is. So he has the 3-step plan. Now, there are some folks who still say there needs to be more that needs to happen to kind of reduce the speculation and the hoarding of RAM and to hopefully reduce the cost more for dApps. Because in the end, what we all want is more dApps on EOS, right? Yeah. However, right now, only the very high-quality dApps, I guess you could say, the ones with funding or with significant, who want to put significant stake in the game, they're the ones who can afford to airdrop right now and to build on EOS.
Right.
So it's kind of a two-sided sword. You have the, I guess, the higher quality, as you could say, or the better funded projects. They can still do it, and therefore the bar is high with EOS. I think Thomas Cox is coming in very soon. I see him lurking here. Yep, there he is.
There he is.
Greetings.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Thomas.
How are you?
Doing well.
Congratulations to Kevin on his big move.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. We, as we mentioned at the top of the show, I'm with EOS Southwest Eden now, block producer candidate, or block producer, I should say. Moved up to 13th. I'm very proud of them. But they're always been one of my favorites, and so I'm very happy to be with them. Now, when it comes to this show, we're still trying to keep it kind of relaxed, so just trying to keep this going every Monday. So thank you for coming on.
Put your neutral hat on. Try not to be too...
He's had a lot of practice being neutral, so it shouldn't be hard.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's right. I feel like I've been able to uncork my tongue a little bit more somewhat in terms of just saying what I really actually feel. Yeah, so it's been nice somewhat in Telegram.
Yes, I know the feeling.
Yeah. So Thomas, what have you been up to? What's going on?
Let's see. I'm preparing for my big trip to Asia, flying out tomorrow to Seoul, South Korea, for the first of 2 EOS conferences, the EOS Community Conference in Seoul for 2 days, the 20th and 21st, I believe. We have a dinner on the 19th, and then the 20th is a day of typical sort of scheduled speeches, presentations, and whatever. And then the 21st, that Saturday, is an unconference dedicated to governance. It is our first ever live in-person, unconference structured, Korea-based attempt to get input on governance, whether it's constitution, RAM market, voting, smart contracts, Ricardian contracts, reg producer, anything around governance whatsoever will be fair game. And the outcome will be published. We think we'll be able to live stream portions of that unconference. You can't stream an entire unconference because it's too parallel. It's insane. You can't do it. But in between the breakouts, you have these report outs, and those are very linear, and you can stream those very, very well. So about every hour or so, I think we'll probably do some sort of recording or live streaming of whatever comes out of getting a bunch of smart people in a room to focus and do deep dives on governance issues, whether it's free speech or vote buying or, sock puppets and toxic voters and whatever. It's going to be fascinating. So I'm looking forward to that very, very much. And then after that's over on the 22nd, we all fly, or a lot of us are going to fly to Shanghai for the 23rd, when they have the big EOS Family Day, which is hosted by
Gravity, is it?
Yes, Canon, and I think a couple of others.
Okay.
Probably just about everybody out there. There's a few block producers out there in Shanghai.
And a lot of folks are flying in. Attendance is really significant. The unconference on Saturday that I mentioned in Seoul, they've got 120 people registered, which is a ludicrously high number for an unconference. That's going to be an interesting challenge. And 80 of the 120 are Westerners flying in.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, that's cool.
So I'm hoping we'll also get a bunch of local Koreans who might register at last minute. We'll see. But as with the rule with unconferences is whoever shows up are the right people to show up. And whatever happens is exactly what should have happened. So it'll be awesome.
That's pretty neat. When it comes to that EOS Family Day, you guys going to do a 3-legged race or like an egg toss? What are the
potato sack race?
It's up to them. I'm just going to show up and smile and be a good sport and see what happens.
Nice. And Thomas, when it comes to, so what has been on your mind lately? What's been the kind of the pertinent issues to the EOS?
I've been thinking a lot about, governance, of course, that's kind of my thing. And in particular about, what it is that we need and what we already have, and then what we need next. In fact, if you don't mind, can I share something with you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put together some slides. See if this works. Can you see that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me just...
Hopefully it'll be visible to the audience.
There
I
you
know
go.
that this funky Wirecast thing sometimes truncates things in odd ways, but I'll make sure that the link to the slides is available.
We can see your entire screen now.
Wonderful. And so, what does it mean to govern things, and what do you need for governance? And the answer from all the research I've been doing for the last 9 months and more, and just my whole life in politics and public policy interest and whatnot before that, narrows it down pretty well. I'm going to back up a slide here and show you my source for this. Governing the Commons is the book by Elinor Ostrom, who she was a co-winner of the 2009 Nobel Prize in Economics. And she looked at successful communities who actually governed common pool resources well for a minimum of 100 and up to 1,000 years.
So this is research-based.
This was research. This wasn't the theory. This is research based on successes of normal everyday people, not necessarily highly educated, but they were working on the thing that was feeding their family. So this was high stakes stuff here. And what communities that were successful all had these 8 things, one of which is the ability to define your group boundaries, like who's in and who's out, who can harvest the fish and who can't, and who's allowed to have a say in the matter and who can't. Another is to match the rules to whatever your local conditions are. So she has, one of her examples is an irrigation system that was managed for hundreds of years by the locals, and they had 4 or 5 different groups. Only one of them did an auction of water, and the other ones didn't do an auction. And the ones that did an auction had this big catch pool where they could look at the water and see how much was there, and the other ones had no such setup, and they could just figure out how much time that they wanted to open the sluice gates for. And so you can imagine some do-gooder from Harvard going to DC and saying everyone should have auctions. It's no, they should pick for themselves if they should have auctions, because it'll match their own local conditions. Number 3, ensure that the people affected by the rules can participate in modifying the rules. Make sure the rule-making rights of this community are respected by outside authorities, so that the pin-headed Harvard people going to Washington, D.C. don't dictate local things. You'll recall the quote from Thomas Jefferson that if we were told when to sow and when to reap by Washington, we would soon want bread. Central command and control doesn't work. Next, number 5, community members can monitor each other's behavior, because, of course, a common pool resource, there's a temptation to I'll just take an extra fish. Who's going to notice? And then I've got one more. You can't let that go. You got to be able to monitor and assess graduated sanctions for rule violators, and have low-cost, accessible ways to resolve your disputes. Number 8 is nested tiers. So your small groups have their own way of doing things, and then they roll up into larger groups or roll up into even bigger groups. In the irrigation case, all the farmers that shared a single sluice gate were one group, and then all the ones that had gates on a single feeder line, each of those gate groups would send somebody up to the feeder line group to represent their interests. And then the feeder line guys would elect a couple of guys to go up to the main unit and represent their interests, and so forth. And so they started at the grassroots, and that was the most important thing. And to have this nesting capability. And so I want to look at how this plays out on our blockchain today. So, because if we're serious about governing ourselves, we need to know this. The clear group boundaries. Well, it's token holders who sign the Constitution. That's tremendously important. Knowing who's in and who's out. Matching the rules. Yeah, we have blockchains, and you can create an enclave. You can, Dan is hard at work on his DApp solution that's going to be super cool, and it's going to have its own rules. And if you opt into his, subset of the greater EOS space, that's going to be great, right? You have your own local conditions, local rules. Participate in modifying the rules. We have a referendum and discussion groups, and the referendum is not yet online, but we're getting there. Number 4, how do we make sure our rulemaking rights are respected by outside authorities? I don't think people understand this one. It is tremendously important. We use the UNCITRAL-based arbitration, the UN. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. I'm sorry. You can look it up. But UNCITRAL-based arbitration is respected in over 150 countries around the world, who all signed the 1958 New York Convention on respecting foreign arbitral rulings, which means blockchains aside, if you have an arbitration ruling from an arbitrator that follows an UNCITRAL-based rule set, and you take that to any court in any one of the 150 plus countries that have signed, and if you try to say, well, I want to change this ruling, the court's going to say no, because every one of those 150 plus countries has their own arbitration act on the books that says our courts will respect rulings that come from this system. And what this means is all of the countries of the world that are signed into this, including China, including Russia, including the United States, all of Eurozone, the South America, North America, all the big countries that are going to, might have the heft to throw their weight around and hurt our blockchain, have all signed on to this. And if our arbitrators follow the UNCITRAL rule set, which our rule set is based on, and they issue a ruling, the precedent is very clear. Local courts will say, this is binding. It follows the rules. And so we worked very hard to make sure that Ostrom's rule number 4 is baked into the EOS design. And people don't seem to understand this. It's one of the most important things we've got.
UNCITRAL stands for United Nations Commission on International Trade Law.
Thank you. Yeah, that's international commerce. It's exactly the kind of stuff we're talking about doing on blockchains.
Yeah.
Let's look at the other rules 5 through 8. Can we monitor each other's behavior? Thank goodness, yes, we're a blockchain. We can monitor all kinds of stuff. Graduated sanctions are possible. We haven't really implemented them yet. But with Ricardian contracts, with a constitution, we have the arbitrators and the ability soon to have sudo. This is doable, but it's not proven. And until it's been done a few times, people are going to be anxious about it. Number 7 is low-cost dispute resolution. We have an open market for arbitration. Anybody can start an additional arbitration forum. Anybody can be a standalone arbitrator. All you need is 2 parties in a contract to name you as their arbitrator. And then you are. And then, of course, ECAF is the default arbitration for anything that wasn't specified. But any 2 people in a dispute can pick a new arbitrator at any time. And then nested tiers, we mentioned that earlier. Yeah, we're totally ready to handle nested tiers immediately. That was, again, part of our design from the beginning. So thank you for letting me go all show and tell on you there. But you can see how incredibly important it is that if we are going to manage our own community, if we're going to have an effective management of our common pool resources of RAM, CPU, network bandwidth, all the effort that the block producers put in for the common good that we want to put out, right? How do you allocate bandwidth today? Use stake tokens. It's mechanistic. It's clear. If you try to take more than your share, you can't. Why? Because of the way it's made. And this is just incredibly important for us to be able to tell the world this and to remind ourselves we've got very high functioning governance today, if only we would use it.
Yeah.
I've told a number of people who complain about, EOS cleaner, BP cleaner, they're like not okay. They're violating the reg producer agreement, which, by the way, they are. And not only are they violating it, but they are, when they take money from the chain, they're stealing, because the reg producer command that they're executing when they've signed up to be a block producer says that you're only allowed to take money for being a block producer or for getting votes if you follow the rules in this contract, and they're breaking them, right? It's obvious. And when I tell people, well, why? They're breaking it. And they complain, well, ECAF isn't doing anything. And that's why I ask, have you filed a dispute against them? Mm-hmm. Because arbitrators don't go wandering the landscape looking for things to rule on. You have to make a case and bring it to them. Arbitrators can only rule on cases that are brought, not cases that should be brought. So if you're a block producer and you're not happy, go file a flippin' dispute. So I'm going to wrap up here with something I think is really important. What does governance still need on the EOS blockchain? We need more arbitrators. ECAF is shorthanded. We also need more alternative arbitration forums. I know those are coming, but we need them. We need enforcement powers, the sudo power by block producers. I think that'll be in place by August, I hope, maybe sooner. Well, it's already late July. Hopefully tested and proven. We need the referendum contract, which I know is coming very soon. We need a demand for honest block producers by the
Thomas,
voters.
are you sharing the right screen there? We're seeing your desktop with the files open.
What?
Yeah.
Damn it! It was such a good set of slides too. Try again. Sorry, I get very caught up. I get very excited.
Very
There we
good.
go.
Yeah.
So I will recap. More arbitrators, yes?
Yeah.
Enforcement powers, referendum contract, demand for honest block producers by voters, enforcement action against vote buyers and sellers, which is not that hard to do. Not that hard to do. If anybody out there has been approached to buy or sell a vote, take good records, take them to arbitration, and ask for 10% of whatever gets confiscated. Key recovery implemented by Block 1. That's going to be really important because most of the ECAF complaints right now or cases that have been brought are simple lost keys. And it's really not a proper arbitration function. Basically, it's disputed title. And title disputes are very long and slow and expensive. So we are... Now, okay, that's kind of it seems like a long list of things we need. I could make a longer list of all the stuff we've got.
Yeah.
We have a lot. We're in decent shape, and we're not done. And we need to build some things out. And we need to be good stewards of the chain and create the community we want to live in.
What are you
Thomas?
Sorry,
go
Kev, go ahead. Okay, what are you trying to achieve out in this Asia trip coming up?
Right. My big desire is to take all of the work that was done in Constitution version 1 and any and all of the good ideas in Constitution version 2, which Dan came up with, and then all of the ideas from the whole community, including latecomers who weren't involved in April and May when we did the version 1 creation, and give everybody a forum to start to debate and discuss and work on a version 3 Constitution draft that can be put into a referendum, go head to head with Dan's version 2, and even against version 1, which will of course be a contender, and may the best Constitution get the most votes and win. And I don't want to see a Constitution go up that hasn't gotten as much input as humanly possible. And that's why it's so important for me to go to China and Korea. They've got an enormous number of token holders, and they just haven't been as included as we all think. I think we all would have wished. Mm-hmm. I know we tried to include them in April and May. It was really heavy going. Yeah. Yeah, they weren't clued in. We didn't have as many information communication mechanisms as we do now. And I think people just need to see each other face to face. I mean, virtual is all well and good, but at some point you kind of got to see somebody's face and shake their hand and sit down and break bread with them.
Right. Yeah, Telegram only goes that far for sure.
It's true. Yeah. Tone of voice is a big deal.
Thomas, after reviewing Ostrom's 8 rules for governing common resources, how do you look at Dan's version 2 of the Constitution? What do you see so far that could be improved upon, in your opinion?
I'm concerned that it doesn't seem to have any mechanism for defending the blockchain against external authorities, which is rule number 4. He's throwing out the UNCITRAL-based arbitration and replacing it with nothing as far as I can see. And he says, well, we don't need any arbitration. Well, you're going to have to defend the chain against external law enforcement and claim that you're handling things internally. And the only way to claim that you're handling things internally is UNCITRAL. That's kind of the only game in town. So without that, what do you got? Yeah. We also don't have any way for people to hold each other accountable and settle their disputes in his Constitution. He wants it all up at some hypothetical, magical level 2 that doesn't exist yet. And if it doesn't exist yet, then why should I trust it? I want something that we can run on a test net that looks a lot like what we've already tried in the world, that has stood the test of time. This is not the environment in which we should say, hey, I have an idea, and rush it into production just to see what happens. That's what test nets are for. You can do that in pre-production, okay? Pre-launch, we did that in Blacksburg all the time. I can't count how many times Dan said, I have an idea. and we would like throw out weeks of work and start something new. And often it was cool, and sometimes it wasn't, but it was always interesting. But this isn't that environment. We are live. This is people's real money is at stake here. And Dan wants to, throw away anything about lost keys, stolen keys, or theft. Just throw it away. I'm like, I'm not sure what we're replacing that with. Now, maybe I'm just slow and it's obvious to everybody but me, but I don't get it. And I don't think that's going to play well, frankly.
As far as you know, Thomas, does Dan have any real concerns technically when it comes to interblockchain communication and the use of arbitration and freezing accounts? Like, is there any conflict there that's going to stop interblockchain communication from happening technically?
Interblockchain communication is purely, to the best of my knowledge, and I admit I don't understand it all that well, but the way I understand it happening is you have a light client on your chain that looks at the other chain and can provide on your local chain a proof of what's true over there. And they do the same thing where they have a light client for your chain. And then you could do an exchange where you each agree that something is the case. It's kind of a two-phase commit in distributed databases, only a little more elaborate. And the way you would, quote, move a token is the token never leaves. What you do is you'll say you're going to, like, quote, move, unquote, 100 tokens of EOS from the main net to some other net. What really happens is you lock the 100 tokens up in a vault, in a contract, and you prove it's locked. And on the other side, they're like, okay, it's locked up, so we're going to give you credit over here. As long as it's locked up over there, I'll give you credit here. It's a little like, try to imagine banking in the Middle Ages, and you deposit 100 gold coins at the Medici Bank in Florence, and they send a letter somewhere saying, okay, he's got 100. And then over in like Brazil or somewhere, they're like, okay, you got 100 on account, go ahead and spend it. And they're, corresponding back and forth to let each other know how much of that 100 you've spent.
By pigeon, of course.
By pigeon or boats or whatever. And at some point, they'll say, okay, he's done spending. He'd like whatever's left. And then they send back a note of whatever's left. And they unlock the 100. They keep the part you've spent. They give you back whatever you got. But the 100 coins never left the Medici Bank in Florence, but they were locked up in a contract, which allowed you to access them in the other chain. Okay. And this is just scratching the surface of what's possible. And by the way, if I've totally butchered it and my metaphor is horrifically bad, please correct me. I am dying to understand blockchain communication better than I currently do.
I think we all are. I think we're all waiting to see a real live demonstration. So it's not just us.
Yeah. Thomas, we had
very interesting topic.
And Thomas, we had so Jeff in the chat is asking about Telos, which is the new fork, I guess you could call it. They're using the EOS software to launch a new EOS blockchain. They're making some changes as well, and he was looking for your opinion or your thoughts on Telos.
So I think Telos is the one where they put a haircut on all the whales, so that all the big accounts got shrank. The maximum account size was like 40,000 or something, right. Which eliminated like 90% of all tokens. Which tells you how lopsided the distribution was. I think that's a fascinating exploration. And if they're doing it off the Genesis block, I just want to say I have a small account in the unregistered account section. So if Telos would like to unlock my locked tokens from the unregistered account, there's 158 of them, and I'd be delighted to have access on Telos to those.
There you go.
They can figure out how to get to them.
Nice.
I echo Dan when I say, look, we need a bunch of these. The more, the better. The more chains we have with more variety of rule sets, the more choices and options we have, and the more robust the ecosystem is. The downside could be that we get a bunch of shallow pools instead of one deep one. I understand the risk of that. I don't think that's likely to happen. I think that Telos is probably going to be a little bit of a specialty chain for a while until it either has a use case that's incredibly compelling, or we start seeing whale abuse on mainnet and people flee for the high ground, which would likely be a Telos or an equivalent.
Right.
By the way, I have not sure if, are you ready for something a little speculative?
Sure. We never do that here, but yeah.
So I've told a few people about this, and I think we're ready to start to unveil it a little bit. I warn you, it's a little, not maybe quite ready to come out of the oven. It's maybe not fully baked, but it's getting there. What do we do about bad actor voters who currently seem to have put this EOS cleaner in power, and also appear to have about 6 or 7 other sock puppet block producers down around like 40th, 50th place, ready to be shot up into production. And if they got 15 of those, which we don't have that many tokens voting right now. So if there's a bunch of them waiting in the wings, they could very rapidly put up 15 or more sock puppet block producers. And if the sudo command existed, they could use it. They could use it to zero out other block producers. They could use it to change people's keys and lock them out of voting against them. They could completely take over the net and run rampant, move money around, whatever. The sudo command is very powerful and risky. It's just like sudo on Unix. And so the risk of bad actors creating sock puppet block producers, to me, is very, very serious. And so what do you do about that? And I've asked, around, and I've thought about, are there ways to lock up the sudo power so it takes like 30 days for something to happen? That may not be sufficient safeguard. I don't know. So what I formulated, because I've been reading Thomas Schelling's The Strategy of Conflict, which is about, warfare and strategy and making credible threats and deterrence and so forth, I've come up with what it's probably not done being thought on, but this is my start, is come up with a list of criteria for what makes a block producer untrusted, and declare, and we'd have to be a bunch of us, in some sort of, leadership, quasi-leadership position, much of maybe block producers, big token holders, luminaries in the community. We'd have to say, look, when the moment a 7th one of these block producers, these sock puppets, these very untrustworthy entities gets into power as a block producer, 7 is magical because it denies the good guys the ability to get to 15. It blocks the sudo. If they get to 15, game's over. But even if they get to 7, you're now stopped from using your enforcement powers. So the deal would be this: the moment a 7th block producer gets in the money, is making blocks that meets these, clear criteria. They don't have to be fair criteria, just have to be clear. The minute 7 of them are in power, we will fork the chain, and every wallet that voted for one of those sock puppet producers is reduced to 0 on the new fork. And we're all leaving for the new fork.
Right.
The minute we get to 7, we're pushing the button and we're gone. And if we practice it and rehearse it a few times, we could get it down to about an hour, maybe less.
Hit the eject button.
Hit the eject button. And congratulations, you've just taken over an empty husk. Enjoy.
Yep. Have fun without us.
And it's technically doable. It goes after the wallet instead of going after the sock puppets, which is pointless. They're like heads of a hydra. You cut off one, you get 2 more. In zeroing out somebody's wallet for behaving in a way that is provably, or at least arguably, toxic, that's a real threat. And it's the only threat I think some people believe in. And if you don't have the ability to make credible threats, you don't have the ability to create the preconditions for cooperation. And I invite you to read The Origins of Virtue by Matt Ridley, read Ostrom, read Thomas Schelling, read any book on trust, and really get to know how human systems work. And you will find that if you take away all ability to punish and all ability to sanction your peers in cooperative games, you do promote bad behavior. And when you allow people to have even small punishments, even small ways of saying, hey, that wasn't cool, man, we didn't like that. They don't have to be huge sanctions, even tiny ones. Make a difference because it helps people where the edges and the boundaries of society are. So we have to mature our ability to respond to these toxic wallets that are out there voting for very sketchy block producers, and we got to get ahead of the game. We can't just be reactive. So that's where I'm coming from right now.
Do you think this would still be a problem when after block 1 voted?
That's just it. If it happens before block 1 votes, or if there's enough of these toxic whales to overpower the 100 million votes, it won't matter.
Yeah.
You know, once sudo falls into the wrong hands, that game is over, because they can zero out the key by which block one would have voted, because sudo would let you do that. Sudo is a very dangerous power. This is why we always predicated the safety and the functioning of this network on enlightened self-interest on the parts of voters. And we haven't seen that enlightened self-interest, I think, because some people are still playing the zero-sum game Bitcoin approach of, I can do anything I want to and you can't stop me, ha, ha, ha. And so far it's been true because we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And I just assume not have to use any of these powers, but we better have them.
I almost wonder, I don't know much about the Bitfinex voting portal, but are we able to distinguish those wallets that are on Bitfinex and then voting as a proxy towards the block producers? Because that's what they're doing right now.
I don't think that Bitfinex are the bad actors here. I'll have to double check, but the ones I'm most worried about are 19 privately held wallets for which no user or owner information is available.
Okay.
And we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, and we had a question here from Modern Liberty about the possibility of funds recourse on EOS helping to bring in nervous investors. He just wanted to know your kind of opinion on bringing nervous investors in. Now, if we have sudo out there, or sudo, however you want to pronounce it, does that kind of scare people off in your mind, or is that
it should do both things. Without sudo, we have no ability to enforce arbitrator rulings that I know of, and no ability to do about half to 3/4 of the things that we promised in the version 1 and version 2 white papers. Without sudo, I think that the chain falls apart in about 3 months. So I don't think sudo is an option. I think it's mandatory, but we have to bring it in with safeguards. And I think ultimately what people is going to make nervous investors less nervous is a track record of us facing our problems and solving them internally.
Instead of hiding them, right?
Well, no, you never want to hide your problems. That's what would worry me. Is someone, oh, everything's great over here. Yeah, there's not a single problem in the world. Come on, this is crypto. Everyone's got problems.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. Well, when it comes, and also for proxies, so Ted is asking a question about delegates. I believe he's talking about proxies. People who sort of proxy their vote off and just kind of forget about it, just assume the proxy is doing a good thing. And then the proxy starts doing their own thing, or they start abusing the power. Is there some kind of way to disable the proxy, or is there some way to take recourse against the proxy?
It's a great question. We'll have to look. Seriously, we've got to set this up in a test net and run a whole bunch of scenarios. The proxy will be one of them. I remember I said this wasn't fully baked. That's an example of it not being. I don't have the faintest idea. We got to figure that out.
Yeah,
it's a great question, though.
Yeah, it seems like there are a lot of things that we couldn't quite. When it comes to real money being thrown around, right, and how people will act when the real money starts flowing, there's no way to really test that out, right? It's just how the chain launched, and we found these things out after the fact, kind of.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty well known that several things just weren't in place that we kind of assumed would be or hoped would be. We just didn't get to them. Referendum is the obvious one. We've always said there'll be referenda. And we launched before that contract was ready because it was time to launch. We ran out of time. I mean, at some point you run out of runway and you got to pull up the nose and take off and fly with what you got. And if you didn't bring it with you, you better make it on board. Fortunately, we've got an incredibly clever and committed community of very technical people who are doing amazing things. EOS Nation, EOS Canada, I can't even count all the block producer teams that are doing stellar work on the referendum, on the forum, on the worker proposal system, and so forth. So I think we've got some very exciting days ahead of us. And we've got some real problems. We got to face them.
Right. Yeah, I just have an update on the referendum I got from Daniel Keys. He said they proposed a implementation that was going to be a tweak to the EOS.io forum code. And that way you can get the votes off-chain tally, and then you can have an on-chain tally is phase 2 that they're working on. So there's a couple phases that will go first, and then a second phase after that.
Good. And we got to run them on test nets, man. We got to start testing this stuff out really strongly. Anybody that's interested in this stuff, make yourself known. Go over to the EOS Gov channel, and I think we need to sign up couple of block producers to run a governance test net and start putting some of these ideas into practice and game them out and do, the red force and the blue force, and just try a bunch of things, try and take over the net, try and get the toxic whale force in there and try and take things over, try to stop them, try to misuse the power, try to block the misuse.
Would you like to see a test of the referendum code before we actually use it?
I'm sorry. If you replace the word referendum with any other word, don't you think the answer is always going to be yes? Of course, I want to see the code flipping tested. Mother of...
I think the appetite for people are being a little bit impatient now. They want that referendum code out there so that they can use it, right?
God, crypto is so weird, man. The blockchain. If you took all the people on the planet and you lined them up on a spectrum from the most patient to the most impatient, we find that the only people doing blockchain are all down here at the impatient end of the spectrum. There's other people that were impatient who aren't in blockchain, but there's no one in blockchain that's not impatient as far as I can tell, except possibly Sam Saposnik.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's been a week already. I mean, the Seoul conference was put together in a week, 3 weeks before the go date.
Right.
It's like, who puts on a major event in less than a year?
Yeah.
Well, in crypto, it's like a month is plenty. Crazy. It's like, yeah, we'll just deploy it in production. What could possibly happen? Stop it. This is a production chain now. You don't get to be quite that cowboy.
With billions of dollars of value flying around too.
Yeah, with billions of dollars of value flying around. And no sudo to bail you out.
Yeah. Thomas, when it comes to funding ECAF, this is a question that should hopefully be put to the block producers at some point, but do you believe the ECAF should be funded by the block producers, and in what fashion?
This is very tricky because if you give money to ECAF and then you end up with a case in ECAF, it can look like a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Whether or not, the arbitrator hearing your case ever even finds out you gave money or cares. And so ECAF has to be careful who it takes money from. And if I were a block producer, would I want to be the only one and looking like I'm trying to bribe the judge? Would I want to try and do it collaboratively in a group? Do I do it one time? Do I do it with a stream of money or just a one-time donation? And of course, there's no precedent to fall back on. It's another problem. We knew pre-launch that it would have been wise to set some money aside and give it to ECAF. And we realized that there was literally no extra money, that the Genesis block consisted of exactly what it consisted of, right? The 100 million for block one and 900 million for the people who bought it. And that's it. And there is no extra. And the only, flow of money is from interest. And that's all accounted for 4% into savings and 1% to block producers, period. So we thought, shouldn't we fund them with a little early money to get set up? And there's nothing to do. There was no availability. I'm checking my pockets for, lint and spare quarters.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, we'll appeal to the worker proposal system, but that's taking a while to come online.
Yeah.
So what's left? If it
fees.
were me, and it's not, I stress it's not, but if it were me, I would say, hey, all the block producers should create a block producer political action committee or trade association. It's like all the builders in town belong to the Builders Association, right? All the carpenters are in the Carpenters Union, or they should be. And that's a way to do collective action for your business entity separate from society. And so then if the block producers had a block producer trade association, I don't know what you'd call it, and then there were dues, and then they could vote on whether the association should make a one-time grant to ECAF to help bootstrap arbitration for the good of the community, for the good of block producers. We all benefit. You could totally do that, and it wouldn't trace back to a particular block producer as the person who'd given it. And as a donation, one-time donation, it's probably not a bribe. Mm-hmm. It's, I think it's probably okay. And then if, 6 months from now, the association ended up as a defendant in arbitration, they could repay it by then and say, this looks bad, so we're going to give you that money back. I'd be all about that, at least to try it out. So, and the other thing that ECAF has not done, and I wish they had, is charge for cases. They should have charged filing fees and deposits really right off the bat. And people were so anxious to help the poor phishing victims. This is why you should never be too empathic. I'm sorry, but it's like and since we took those cases for free, how do you start charging for the next ones?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a mess. So yeah, if I were a block producer, I'd be trying to find some way to do block producer collective action so that I don't look like the weird one, and so that I don't look like I've, bribed a judge if I end up in a dispute at some point.
Reminds me of
some of the block producers have a very strong interest in having ECAF functioning and fully funded. I mean, just purely selfishly.
Yeah.
Sure. Get rid of the bad producers and that kind of thing. Arbitrate against sure. Reminds me of some of the rules you talked about with Ostrom in terms of just governing the common pool.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I promise you, there's not a village on the planet where there's not some way to sanction people who are doing things that the rest of the village really doesn't like. It may be formal, it may be informal, but there's no group of human beings that don't have some way of informing their members when they're inside or outside the bounds that the rest of the members are okay with. There's just not.
Yeah.
And by the way, people who are on chat right now saying, Thomas, you're wrong. Guess what you're doing? You're proving me right, because you're trying to guide me and push me with your words to conform to your version of what's right and wrong. Mm-hmm. So thank you for proving me right.
Time for a fresca.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's always good hearing from you, Thomas. Can you just give us, what are your thoughts here? You'll be gone for a couple of weeks, or?
Yeah, I'll be Monday when you're on next, a week from today. I'll be in Shanghai, and I have no idea what time of day it's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be 7 a.m. for you in Shanghai.
Oh, well, I could come on.
Okay,
really?
Perfect.
Okay.
Probably. I don't know what shape I'll be in. I'll be jet lagged as heck. I might be even less coherent than usual. But if you want me on, we'll do a telegram and make sure that it's still working. But I'll do my best. Lord knows what the backdrop is going to be behind me.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'll absolutely do my best. If you want me, I'll be here.
It'll be refreshing to hear you less coherent, because you're very coherent otherwise. So
we want the. It'd also be fun to hear the recent events from Korea, because you'll just have finished up with that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, my brain will be full of whatever's happened there.
Yeah.
So there'll be so much to digest. So much will come out of that.
And speaking of debate, I see there's some interesting conversation going on in Telegram and the Gov channel, which I think you've been tagged on a few things by Dan and such. So
have to jump back over and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
It never stops.
Right.
It never stops.
Thanks for coming on, sir.
Thanks.
Thank
Thomas.
you very much. Thank you for what you do for our organization, for our whole community, by running this every week.
Sure thing. Have a safe flight too.
Yeah.
A couple flights. Yeah.
Ciao.
See ya. Well, Blue Jays. Yeah, we have a few more news points to cover, but what are your thoughts there from Thomas? What you just heard?
Thomas, he represents a perspective that, in our community that's definitely needed. We can be very technical, being in the IT industry. We can be very away from some of the more people issues. So I think Thomas represents that part fairly well, and I think it's good to have both sides, or even another side, so that things aren't just one way. So I think that it's good back and forth.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that he broke off from Block One, or left them, and it sounds like it was a mutual thing. It's been happening for months and months, and they all agreed it was probably the best course of action. Having a strong voice in the community, other than just Dan and Block One, will be very important. I mean, this is a community, and we need a lot of folks putting their input into it to make these changes effective and to find the best possible solution. We have heard from a couple of people who are like, well, why do you still bring Thomas on? He's not with Block One anymore. Well, I mean, that's the point. We want some of the best community members, I guess you could say, the people who are most knowledgeable, who are the most outspoken about everything. We want to have them on this show so that they have a platform and are able to help improve EOS in whatever way they think is best. And that way we can...
And let's be frank, the type of system that Thomas talks about is the one that we were first excited about. Everyone was. We were all excited about having arbitrators and the human aspect of it. So that's what people came here for at the beginning, and we still want a part of that. So Thomas is the voice for that. So
that's really what excites me about their trip in South Korea. They're going to have that unconference. Most of the day, it sounds like about governance and the issues surrounding it. I'd like to hear kind of what everybody else thinks too. I know that Dan's Intent of Code is Law post, where he put out his version 2 of the Constitution, eliminating arbitration, basically. It seems like it had a fair amount of support from what I saw in Telegram. However, we also need to remember now that block producers, they want that vote from Block 1. It's 100 million tokens. Right. So naturally, they're going to kind of favor whatever Block 1 is saying, right?
Yeah.
They may not. So we do need strong community members who are not block producers, right? People who can stand up and say, well, actually, I don't think this will work.
Nobody wants to poke the bear.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy to see Thomas around. I'm glad he's speaking up more now, too. He has more teeth these days, I've noticed. So.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
What's the next piece of news? I mean, we should talk about
I think we got most of them. Yeah, Telos.
Yeah.
Telos is that fork. We've talked about it earlier with Thomas that they have the 40 cap K on all the accounts.
Yeah.
More affordable RAM. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, so here's the too long didn't breed version of the white paper that Douglas Horn actually put out. He's the guy who's kind of spearheading the Telos movement. So it is a separate. They're launching a new chain, right, with different block producers. There are probably going to be some block producers that do both chains, depending on their own values. Some of the differences, the 40,000 cap on all accounts. So if you have more than 40,000 EOS, first of all, congratulations. And second of all, you're not going to have more than 40,000 on Telos. You'll just have to be capped at 40,000. There will be proprietary dApps allowed and proprietary software. So if you don't want to open source your stuff, if you're a dApp builder who wants to maintain control over your code, you can launch on Telos. Whereas on EOS.io, that's against the Constitution, I believe. So there's a minimum block producer requirements enforced by smart contract. There are some interesting things that they're looking to achieve that I think will need to be, sounds like it'll be hard to code some of this stuff. I'll be interested to see what kind of solutions they come up with. And they have said that they're going to open source some of their solutions to be shared back and forth. So in the end, it should hopefully benefit everybody, especially if they come up with a good solution. They have two powerful tools, they say, for RAM stabilization. Developer focus for affordable RAM as well. So they actually have this kind of Federal Reserve system. They have a Telos Foundation set up that's being funded by part of the inflation, or by part of the tokens up front. And I guess the foundation will actually set a price, from what I understand, that they believe the RAM should be. And so that will kind of help reset the price to make it a little bit lower, a little bit more affordable for people who do want to airdrop on EOS holders, so on and so forth. What else have you seen that really interested you, Bluejays? What's different that you know of?
No, I think you got it all.
Yeah, they have. Well, there's actually one more thing that's interesting too. I'm looking at these notes. Block producers pulled from rotation after 30 minutes of non-production. So if they're irresponsible and they're not doing their job, they're automatically pulled out, which I guess is something they'll also have to throw in the code. And then also standbys must prove readiness by rotating in to produce blocks for 6 hours every 5 days. So basically, if you're in the top 21, you may just randomly get moved out. So one of the standbys can get popped in there and start producing blocks on production ready. And they say that this gives the top 21 12 hours off per week for scheduled maintenance.
Nice.
Which is kind of a nice idea. We'll see how that works in practice, I suppose. But yeah, you get your 6 hour block from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, and you better be ready for it so you can do your maintenance, I guess. But anyway.
What are your thoughts on Telos? You're excited about this one?
So, at first when I read a lot of the changes they're making, Bluejays, first thing I thought was, I don't know if they can pull all these changes off in the code, right? You need some awesome developers to help throw these changes in here and make them work. And they have a test net up now. So if they do pull it off, though, I think a lot of the changes are actually good for the long haul. They're trying to minimize whale power, right? They're trying to make the RAM more affordable. That's great. There's a lot of problems, a lot of issues we've been talking about for a few weeks here, Bluejays, that need to be solved and probably will eventually be solved in EOS itself. And they're going ahead and just saying, hey, we'll do it right away, more quickly, we believe, because we're going to launch a whole new chain. Now, what I don't like, and I'm not sure if this is still in place or not, but in their white paper, they're allowing 1 million tokens per appointed block producer. So they have 6 total appointed block producers who are going to launch the chain, and they're giving each of those guys 1 million Telos tokens. So you have everybody else capped at 40,000, and then you're giving 1 million to these block producers. Not only that, but they can then take their million each, and they have 6 million votes total to vote for each other, is what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah.
It already sounds like a big cartel in my mind, right? That's just my first thought.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what it is, but it does rub me the wrong way. I understand that they've actually been looking into changing that and possibly reducing that number even down to cap. So that'd be great if they could go ahead and do that. I understand they need to, first of all, fund that. You know, they're putting in a lot of work. They want to get rewarded for that. That's understandable. I feel like if they are part of the launch team and part of the appointed block producers, they probably have a good chance of being a long-term block producer on Telos, I would think, because the voters would say, thank you for launching this great chain. We'll keep you voted in number 1, number 6, whatever the case is. So those are my thoughts. I mean, I think Telos is doing a good job, but that's my too long didn't listen. Telos doing a good job on a few things. They're trying something new, which is great. They're offering a fork, which we need. They're not going about it the right way, in my mind, in terms of offering too many tokens for the people who are starting the whole thing.
Cool.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I'm not too excited about the chain. I think it's a specialized chain for a certain purpose, and I wish them luck.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. You, Mr. Politician again. There's Bluejays.
Go Telos.
Go Telos. I haven't seen anybody start Telos Go yet.
Yeah. There's any opportunity for that. So. Yeah,
right. I know. So we'll see that pop up here shortly. We covered all the news. I think any other news that you saw this past week?
No, I think we covered all of it.
Yeah, we should have mentioned again, Scatter has their air grab going for the Riddle tokens. So go in there and do that. We'll put that link up in the chat so you can make sure you get your tokens as well. What are your final thoughts of the week, Bluejays?
Oh, this has been an exciting week. So I'm looking forward to all of the new things to come from EOS. I think the market is starting to turn to the upward. I've heard a few things from certain people, and I trust them. I don't do any of those charting or don't take financial advice from me, but it's good to hear things are on the up and up, especially with the great news coming out of the EOS world.
Yeah, it does seem like we've seen a nice jump in the price, Bluejays.
Yeah.
Do you have any moon buttons we should hit?
No, but we can do disco. Let's do it.
Yeah, not financial advice, but here's a disco ball.
There you go.
Bluejays, can you imagine if someone did take this to court? They said, we took financial advice from these guys.
And those discoers.
Right, and they played the video and it's just us going,
it's like, it's your fault for taking advice from those guys.
Right. The judge would just be like, all right, get out. Don't ever listen to those guys. So we didn't do 20 discos for show number 20, Bluejays. What are we going to do about that?
Another disco.
Oh, okay. Have we gotten Thomas to disco yet?
I don't think Thomas would ever disco. We'd hit the disco button, and he's just going to stare there looking at us, you know?
Well, we can't hear it. People should know that, we can't hear it on this end of the deal. You can only hear it through the YouTube, But Thomas, that should be on our bucket list, Bluejays, EOS Radio
on our bucket list. On EOS Radio bucket list, yeah.
Item number 1, get Thomas to dance to disco.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Yeah, it's been a good week. Where can people follow us? Where should they keep up Bluejays with EOS Go?
The usual channels on our Telegram group. You can come in there and hang out. Got some interesting people in here. Let me type it in. Yeah, always a passionate group there in the EOS Go Telegram. We have the Twitter, of course, and even the community updates. We still do put out updates for stuff that's going on. And that's the channel that just puts out announcements, basically. Yeah. So, thanks, guys, for tuning in. Go EOS. Go Telos. Oh. Go EOS. See you guys. Man. Bye.